What is going on? It's the Rob from 106.1 Kiss FM here with my tag team partner in podcasting, the one, the only, luscious Jerry Valeri.
Beat up John Cena.
Beat up John Cena.
Beat up John Cena.
So much to talk about today. I do love how it's just been so busy in the world of wrestling. Like there's some weeks where I'm scratching my head trying to find stuff to talk about, and then there's weeks like the ones that we've had since you've been doing the show with me that it's just like there's no shortage of things to talk about.
There's just so much going on. I jumped in at the perfect time.
Yeah, you really did. So before we get to SmackDown, you've watched SmackDown, correct?
I have. I watched it in its entirety.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I wanted to talk about what I feel is the biggest news story happening off TV right now. And I'm curious as to what's going on behind the scenes about this, but there's so many things that have dribbled out about Chris Jericho confronting Brock Lesnar after SummerSlam. We dabbled upon it last time we spoke. Let's give our thoughts about this today.
Let's do it. And here's something I should tell you and all of the listeners and viewers of Post to Post is I get so angry when I'm on the internet. When I go to like some of these wrestling forums or I go to these wrestling news sites and they've got their blogs and they're giving me their opinions of stuff. And I know we give our opinions, but I can't stand other people's opinions. It makes me crazy. So I don't really look at internet news. So I don't know, other than what we talked about the last time, if anything new came out, I am oblivious to it.
Okay, so here's what I'm being told or what I'm reading about. So I definitely enjoy reading the news. I don't look at other people's opinions. The reason I don't is because I don't want to kind of alter mine heading into the show that we do here. So what I understand is Chris Jericho was confused about the ending of the Randy Orton match. He saw it. He saw the blood. Was kind of aware that WWE has the policy about the no blood, so he was surprised to see the blood. So he went to gorilla position and asked Michael Hayes, who was sitting there, what happened. And Michael Hayes wouldn't say anything because there was some sort of camera back there. It's probably a WWE camera, but a camera nonetheless. So Michael Hayes wouldn't say anything. He's like, I don't know. And since Michael wouldn't say anything, he said that's BS out loud as soon as Brock Lesnar came back through the curtain. Jericho's under the impression, my understanding is incorrect impression, that he went into business for himself, took liberties with Randy Orton, bloodied him up without telling Randy it was coming.
And wrecked the ending of SummerSlam.
Correct, yeah. I think he was more worried about Randy's well-being, though.
Oh, absolutely. So it's the old guard stuff. Well, I knew that. I knew all of that. And then Brock came back just at the time when he's yelling BS and gets in his face and they get into an altercation. Has anything else developed?
Yeah, a little bit. So I guess when there was a pull-apart that happened, which the pull-apart sounded crazy. Like Jericho got into Brock's face and I guess Brock kissed him on the forehead.
Oh, boy.
And said, hit me or kiss me, P word. Called him a P word. And he said,
Penelope.
Hit me or kiss me, Penelope. And Jericho did neither, and he kind of said something back. I do want to give Jericho props for standing his ground for what he felt was right. I do feel like right as Brock is coming behind the curtain, it's probably a bad time to do it, but he did think that one of his boys had been messed with. So I kind of give him some credit there.
I feel like you bring it up with Vince, right? You bring it up with everybody else in Gorilla. At some point, someone should have pulled Jericho out of that situation before Brock got back there.
That's what happened. So when it started to get physical, a lot of the bystanders, including Triple H and Vince, had to pull Jericho reportedly off of Brock. Not that he was on top or anything, but just that they were pulling him off. And Vince yelled, "It's a work. It's a work, Chris. It's a work," was what he yelled to Chris. So that kind of gave people the impression that the blood was agreed upon. Orton was cool with it from everything I'm hearing.
Now, will Chris get in trouble for this?
I don't think so.
They've got to appreciate on some level that he's just trying, because Brock, for all intents and purposes, he talks about how he doesn't care about anybody but himself. He talks about how he doesn't care about professional wrestling. He's all about the money. I don't think those are lies. I don't think that's an act.
I don't either.
I think that he is in business for himself, and he doesn't really care about the integrity of professional wrestling in any way, shape, or form. So for guys like Jericho to get upset about it and to think that he shot on Orton, like maybe he thought, it wouldn't shock me to find out that Orton was booked to win it, and then Lesnar was like, yeah, well, you're not going to. Or if you do, you're going to have a concussion by the end of it. So it was,
I don't agree with that second part. I agree with
Brock
everything set up to that point.
Brock is constantly in the news for bad things. I mean, while we're talking about this, he's being suspended right now by USADA for all the doping with UFC, like the fight organizations that sanction his fights. He's going to be suspended for 6 months. Not that it matters because he has pro wrestling, but he just all these doping allegations, and he doesn't get suspended. It just seems like it's Brock Lesnar and everybody else. So when everybody else gets upset, it shouldn't surprise people.
Do you think it makes the WWE's anti-doping deal look kind of phony, or what are the impressions you get from that?
It makes them look weak in regards to Brock Lesnar. That's for sure. It makes them look super hypocritical.
Their rationalization for this is that Brock is a part-time employee.
Okay.
I don't particularly buy it either. I mean, if your guys can't do it, they shouldn't be able to do it full-time or part-time.
Right.
Like, in radio, it's not like the full-timers can't curse on the air. The
if I was Roman Reigns, I'd be upset about this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, WWE didn't conduct this test, if that's worth anything.
Yeah, but it's USADA, the United States Association of whatever.
Anti-Doping Association, I think.
Yeah. So I trust them more than the WWE when it comes to doping.
Yeah, but who knows if what they consider doping to be the same as WWE?
I don't know. It's weird. I wonder if Brock is liked backstage. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Can't possibly be.
No, I don't think very much, but I don't think that he cares. He's not even around to feel it. So, but and I think radio people get this too. It's like, this person comes in. I mean, how many times do you see people make so much more money? You see untalented people make so much more money, ridiculously more times as much money as talented people.
It's infuriating, and they get more opportunities and things like that. But I've been on the receiving side of that sometimes. I get it. There's a lot of jealousy. There's been a lot of jealousy that I've dealt with in my career, and I know you have too. People just think like, well, why him? Well, because we're better. So shut up.
Yeah, but there's also times where I felt shafted by people. Like, I mean, I've heard rumors about some of my contemporaries and peers in this city and other cities, and I'm like, really? That's what they make, and I make this? Like, what is that?
It's upsetting.
It is. I'm sure you've been there too.
Absolutely.
So, okay, let's chat about SmackDown. I wanted to talk about the Brock thing because I think that's what the world is talking about. I don't think Jericho did the right thing, but I don't think he deserves to be punished either. He looked good, and I think just it was a bad situation as far as, just people not knowing what's going on.
If anything, I think this makes Jericho look better with the boys backstage than anything. So, he's a leader back there, and I really appreciate this Jericho run.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten good. It's his best one since he's left to do the Fozzy thing. I wish he'd just give up on that. I can't stand that band.
They're not good.
So, all right, SmackDown, I took a few notes. You want to chat about them?
Right, I took 2 notes. I have 2 notes.
Okay, I have more than 2. Why don't you you want to tell me your 2, or do you want to work into them chronologically?
I'll tell you my 2. Well, I'll tell you the first. I'll tell you the first one, and then we can go chronologically.
All right.
Bold statement. SmackDown is a better show than Raw, at least this week. I enjoyed the heck out of this SmackDown, and I think that they accomplished more in 2 hours than Raw did in 3.
Disagree. They may have accomplished more in 2 hours than Raw did in 3, but I do not think it's a better show.
I don't like some of the things that they did, and I don't like some of the decisions they made, but taking the decisions that they made and making the best out of it, like we'll talk about the titles, I loved it. I enjoyed that show almost front to back.
My first note is one of agreement. My first note says SmackDown does a better job of explaining their title situations than Raw does.
Yeah, and managing their time.
And, well, okay, I agree with both of those. Yeah, well, you see, people say Raw has the advantage, and Raw got the 2 choices for every SmackDown 1, or I'm sorry, 3 for every SmackDown 2, because Raw is 3 hours and SmackDown is 2. I actually kind of think SmackDown has an advantage, because the thing I hate most about Raw is that they're 3 hours.
Exactly. It's too long, entirely too long.
But too many times on Raw, and it's consistent. Too many times on Raw, I don't know what their situation is. Like, for example, I didn't know for the first 2 hours that next week was going to culminate in a fatal 4-way as opposed to like a single elimination tournament. They didn't tell us.
Yeah, the announcers failed us there. The people in the ring doing the promos, they didn't say it well enough. You know, when Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan and all those superstars were in the ring, I thought that segment was great. I didn't like the premise of it. I think having the women's title of all the titles is useless on SmackDown.
Yes.
Useless.
Correct.
It should be called the Becky Lynch title, and that's the end of it.
Or it should be called the Divas Championship, because they're divas.
Because they're divas. As far as the tag team thing goes, I wish all the tag teams were on the same show.
Yeah, I agree with that too. There should not be. I mean, maybe a champion for each show, but not the secondary championships. I agree.
Right, but you know, I'm okay with it. I loved Heath Slater.
That's my second note. My second note says I was genuinely excited to hear Heath Slater's voice, and it seems like the crowd was too. They lost their mind for him. They
have to notice in the back at this point that Heath is getting a pop.
Yeah, and finally, you know, I mean, how long was he really, I mean, when I say floundering, I'm going to use, he was drowning on Raw.
Right.
Before the brand
extension.
Social
Outcasts wasn't working. It just, nothing was working.
Like, he wasn't barely keeping his head above water. He was underwater. He was drowning.
I thought he'd be cut.
And who would have thought that, when the brand extension happened and the draft actually happened, that we'd be talking about him every week.
It wouldn't surprise me if somehow in a year he ends up having a title of some sort.
Yeah, not the world, but I mean,
don't be crazy. I mean, like Intercontinental.
Okay, he could logically be inserted into the Intercontinental title feud with The Miz and win the title by Backlash sensibly.
It wouldn't upset me either.
Yeah, so.
But now they've got him in the tag thing, so they're going to give him a tag partner. They're going to have him in the tag tournament.
Which I thought was so. One of the things I hate about wrestling is when you can't suspend the disbelief or whatever the term is. How convenient that Heath Slater, the quote-unquote surprise entrant in all this, makes it an even 8-team tournament. Were you just planning on having 7 teams? Like, honestly, is that what your plan was, Daniel Bryan?
Well, no, they explained it. They said it was going to be a 6-team tournament, and then because they said 6 teams, and I thought this was actually smart. Shane said, if you get a partner, you can be in it. I'll find another team, and we'll make it an 8-man.
Well, even still, 6 doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but at least they handled it better than I thought they did. Shame on me for not paying attention.
Right.
Also, I do find it annoying on both Raw and SmackDown that there's a redundancy between a GM and an owner. Like, why do we need Shane and Daniel Bryan?
Just need one.
Yeah, or, I mean, maybe if there's conflict between them. And then if you want to get even more technical, there's Shane, Daniel Bryan, and technically Vince, an off-screen character. You know, so let's just have one.
I find it interesting how much we agree on absolutely everything except when it comes to picking matches.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. My next note had to do with Bray Wyatt. I feel like now is not the right time for him to keep referring to himself as a wrestling god, because every time he does that, I think about his win-loss record and how long it's been since he's had a big victory.
He keeps cutting the same promos, and they're good promos, but it's the same thing, and he's not going to beat Randy Orton. They're not going to have Orton come back and lose to Lesnar and then lose to Bray Wyatt, and that bums me out because I wanted to see Bray Wyatt get that main eventer push.
I think he's a valid main event choice, but I feel like if we're going to do the wrestling god gimmick, it should have been earlier in his career when he was doing the big things with Cena, or let's do it later in his career because I still think he has some gas left in the tank. Yeah,
when he starts becoming a formidable opponent, someone that wins matches.
Someone who's actually should be feared as a god, you know, which he's capable of being that character, but let's call him that then.
Yeah.
It's honestly not much different than Heath Slater calling himself a wrestling god right now.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Only Heath Slater, it's funnier.
Going back to Heath Slater for a second, another note I put was the show long angle of Heath trying to find a tag team partner was so simple yet effective in getting people to invest in him emotionally.
And then, and at the end, everybody's happy.
Yeah, but it doesn't need to be rocket science. Just keep reminding us and make it funny, make it simple that he can't find a partner. Did that ever resolve, by the way?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think he found a partner yet. Does he still have time?
No, he was supposed to find him by the end of the show.
This guy can't get any luck. He can't get a break.
He can't get a break. I'm sure he's going to come out and they're going to say it was too late. And poor guy. But I'm loving it. They can't do this free agent forever, but they're doing a really good job of it. And I like him more on SmackDown than Raw. He'll get lost on Raw. He shouldn't live on Raw.
You're right about that, and there's a reason for that, which I'll get to in a second. But I do worry about his 34 kids in their above-ground pool.
I do.
That could get repossessed. The reason why I think he could get lost on Raw is because of my next note. The next note being SmackDown's roster feels thin to me. Your thoughts?
It's super thin. We talked about it a little bit on the phone yesterday. If one of 4 top people get injured, they're duck soup.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
they are in trouble. Like if they get Finn Balor, they don't have a backup plan.
Correct. And the names I would be worried about, number one would be AJ Styles. If Styles goes down, SmackDown is in big trouble.
Big.
If Ambrose goes down, they're in big trouble.
Yes.
If Cena goes down, they're in big trouble.
Yes.
And you could maybe even say.
Then I'd say Bray Wyatt, maybe, and Randy Orton.
Yeah, or I was even thinking Ziggler for a second, who's been very top of the card since the draft.
Right.
So, yeah, if any of those go down, I think they've got big problems. You're right.
Yeah, big problems.
And then my final note is really nothing too mind-blowing, but I'm watching the main event. I'm watching Styles take on Ziggler. They did a great job. I'm listening to Ambrose on commentary, and I'm just so high on AJ Styles right now and so low on Dean Ambrose right now.
Yeah, my other note was for Styles. It's the little things. It's the little touches. He comes out and he's cutting a promo and he's wearing Never Give Up armband on his left arm, cutting a promo on Cena. I love it.
Did you
see? Came out with a Cena armband.
At the very beginning of the show, they addressed that.
Love it.
I can't believe this.
He has money on the air. He has money on the mic. His matches are top notch. I'm praying he beats Dean Ambrose at Backlash.
Something amazing just happened.
What?
Let me thank Steve. Steve's watching live.
Steve.
Steve, thank you so much. Slater found Rhino to be a partner. Thank you for that update.
Oh, that's great. They could win stuff. I don't know if they'll beat American Alpha, but they could. Oh, I'd love it. I'd love to see Heath Slater and Rhino in the main event in the top tag match for the belt.
So yeah, or here's the thing: this is win-win because if let's say Slater and Rhino win the championship, I think that's cool. Okay, agreed? Like that'd be okay.
I'd be so okay with that.
And then let's say they lose and the angle continues, that could be great too.
Yeah, it doesn't, because they're not really getting rid of Heath. So if he loses, it won't break my heart. It just gives us more time with this angle. But him and Rhino, and the thing about Heath Slater, and you don't get to see it very often, but I watched him at a house show, and he had a lot of time. Now he lost. I can't even remember who he fought, but he's good. His in-ring work is good when he's given some time.
I'll have to be convinced of that.
I mean, I didn't say great.
Okay.
But it's good. It's serviceable.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to have, the best match of the night any night, I don't think, but he can get by.
I didn't say that.
No, I know.
didn't say that.
Well, then
don't make the face like I farted in the room. I saw your face.
Well, my thought was, then what makes someone bad?
Wearing Ascension makeup and coming out as the vaudevillains. That's what makes him bad.
Okay, so you think that his in-ring work and ability is better than that of the Ascension and Vaudevillains? I think
I do. I think it's better. I think that because he plays to the crowd more. He just, I watched Titus O'Neil come out at a house show, and I was like, boring. Poop. Get out of here.
Hold on. You promised us as we go out. Let's go out on this note. You promised us a recreation of the Titus O'Neil promo. Did you watch it?
I did, but I didn't transcribe it. All I can really do it was like the college radio of promos. It was like dead air, dead air.
Okay, so let me ask you just a few things then. If you want to try to recreate that first sentence, go for it. But my question to you is, did it live up to the hype of how bad it was? Did I overhype it?
It was awful. It was awful. It was like blah, 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 blah. He flubbing words, didn't know his direction, and did he have a script? Is that what the problem was? He had to remember a script and he couldn't do it?
I think the problem is some people are good at talking on the mic and some people aren't.
We need to make him great again.
I don't think he's got much longer left. I really don't.
See, because the last time we talked about him, he was shaking Vince's arm off his shoulder and getting suspended for it.
Yeah. You want to try, as we go out, do you want to try to give it your best shot? At least
I don't. I'm going to transcribe it, and I promise the next time I'm going to have it in front of me, and I will do it word for word.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough.
Word for word.
I hope people have seen it by now. I heard it got cut from the Hulu portion, which I know some of our audience watches, but some of them were able to find it. So I'm telling you, it was bad. It was a contender for worst promo, at least of the year, if not longer. It was bad.
It belonged in WCW. It was so bad.
Did we cover your final note too?
Yeah, I just had to note that I think SmackDown was a great show this week, and AJ Styles wearing the Cena armband I thought was just a nice touch.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Steve, and whoever else is watching. I know we've got 2 viewers right now, one of which is Steve. I appreciate you watching and for helping us out. I did not realize that he did finalize the deal with Rhino.
And everybody else that didn't watch live, shame on you.
No, I'm not upset about that. I only do it like this for convenience.
Stupid idiot.
Jerry's going heel. All right, man. Hey, thanks for your time this morning. Let's chat again on Tuesday, unless someone dies over the weekend.
Right. If somebody dies, we'll have an emergency podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, we'll be together again on Tuesday after Raw. For myself, the Rob, my tag team partner, Jerry Valette. Thanks, bud.
I'm going to eat tuna and rice now. Watch out.
That's disgusting.
It tastes disgusting.
Is that avocado in there?
Yes, sir.
That's kind of tastes like
butthole.